what I call the 4 mistakes that value investors make. Number 1, investing in low-quality businesses whose stocks were value traps. And we'll talk more about what a value trap is, but basically it just means a company that performs poorly over time, and the stock looks cheap, but it keeps going down and down because the business keeps getting worse and worse. And so I got trapped in value traps too often, and I failed to buy the stocks of really high-quality businesses that had great growth prospects over time. And to the extent that I did own high-quality businesses, I tended to sell the stocks too early. Made a little bit of money, could have made a lot of money. And again, I'll give many examples of this. And lastly, we value investors tend to be very skeptical of new technologies and so forth. What I have found over my 20 years of investing is that 75% of what matters in how you do in an investment over time is how the underlying company performs over time. And 25%, it matters how cheaply you bought the stock. So it's not either or. You have to factor both things as an investor. But historically, what I did was I looked at the world of cheap stocks and then tried to find a decent company. And what I should have done is looked at the world of good companies and then tried to find good entry points to get into those stocks at decent prices. So for my entire career, I had this backwards, and this cost me and my investors dearly. So you might think, okay, well, now I'm a growth investor, right? My message to you is just buy the stocks of great companies and you can forget about it, right? And no, that's not my message, because growth investors make 4 mistakes as well. Number 1, they overestimate future growth prospects, and they forget the fact that they're very powerful forces of new competitors, that size acts as an anchor, that companies that are experiencing high rates of growth, in most cases, those rates of growth go down substantially. Number 2, they pay much too high a price. They forget about valuation altogether, such that even if the business does well, the stock doesn't. Number 3, they fall in love with great companies, and they don't sell the stock when it's time to sell. And number 4 is they get sucked into story stocks and fads and whatever the hot new thing is. So what I'm here to suggest is that the best investors do both. And this is what Buffett and Munger have done over the years, which is they combine the best of growth and value investing. And what I call make money investing. I'm not a value investor. I'm not a growth investor. I'm a make money investor. And that's what I'd like to teach you, some of the key principles behind that, so you can become make money investors as well. The 4 most dangerous words in investing, the classic saying is, this time is different. The 3 most dangerous words in investing, I maintain, is, I missed it. Think of all the stocks I've showed you. They went up 2x, they went up 3x, or whatever. And I, as a value investor, would never buy stocks after they'd gone up a bunch. I liked buying cheap, beaten-down stocks. So I was always telling myself, I missed it. But the point is it doesn't matter where a stock's been historically. It doesn't matter if it's doubled or tripled or something. It can still be a great buy. The point is, though, is you just need to focus on the future, not where the stock has been in the past. And if you ever find yourself saying, I missed it, do your work again. Last thought is, though, you got to let your winners run, but if the story changes, you got to get out.
So I hope that you all, much earlier in your careers, most of you than I was, don't ever lose sight of core valuation principles, right? Ultimately, you need to be thinking about intrinsic value. What I urge you, though, is to have an open mind and to understand that some companies can be a great value today, can be significantly undervalued today, even if they don't appear that way based on traditional metrics. You need to have an open and a broad mind to think very long-term into the future sometimes to understand value.
从我个人的角度，我特别喜欢这一类公司，是它能够持续的、很有效的为市场或者为他的客户去提供有价值的服务或者产品。我觉得这就是一个公司有价值的一个表现，因为它只要能够持续的提供有价值的服务和产品，因为应该在一个很长的时间段，它的市场价值应该会被得到认可。
我上升一个维度啊，就从这个更多的这个哲学上的一个思考，加一个字叫价值观。对于价值的这个东西，准确说，我认为是我们每个人认知的这个差异。 那么比如说西方的这个普世价值观，西方的价值观下，那么它可以遵循这个 Tilson 先生刚才讲到的这个关于这个 cash flow 的一个折现回来的一个问题。但是比如说对于中国市场也好，或者对于我们说很多的这个新兴市场来好，那这个价值观的认知的这个方法是完全不同的，所以你很难去说究竟哪个价值是对的，哪个价值是错的，你只能做出不同的选择。
我想，应该还是会定期去运动，这个点我觉得是一致的。也许你可能不太喜欢这种非常极限的这样的挑战，但是至少，在工作的和生活之间找到一个平衡的状态，能够让自己保持健康。我想这一点上是每一个投资者也好，还是说想要去拥有一个非常成功的职业生涯的人也好，我想这一点上是一定要做到的。
一开始呢，参与极限运动，从某种角度来讲，我只是想改变我自己的人生价值。随着年龄的这个增长，参与像极限运动什么概念？一个不小心可能就玩完了，所以说呢，你一定是这个在很安全的这个情况下去执行这个游戏，不然的话就是拿生命在开玩笑了，对吧？所以跟这个我们的投资道理是一样的。
I love sending around pictures, where I'm dangling off a 1,000-foot wall, where a fall is death, right? But what you can't see in the picture is that there's a rope, and that there's an experienced guide up above, anchored in, such that if I fall, I'm not going to die. So in other words, it's a yin and yang. It's the same thing as investing, where to be successful, you need to take risk as an investor. But the best investors are the ones who are always thinking about the downside and mitigating the downside. Same thing, which is to live a full life, I would argue. Go outside your comfort zone. Do things that are new and interesting. It doesn't have to be extreme sports and risky things, but go to new countries, hike to the top of a mountain, whatever, right? Something, it makes life interesting and fulfilling. It's what you will remember. Every year, the things I remember are the top of the mountains I've climbed and so forth. It's not how much money I have in my bank account at the end of the year, right? So I strongly encourage you to find and do things that make life interesting and exciting. And to the extent there's some, it pushes you physically. That's a good thing too.